shooter to do something. And that's what is so disturbing in these cases.
Brian, I do want to bring up just a shot that we do have. It's just a slate at the moment, though. I know that these addresses, they are supposed to get underway kind of right on time, so any moment now. But you were saying that you don't expect him to really say a whole lot. And we're discussing about this political rhetoric, and it's what a lot of people have been talking about as well. After seeing the events that played out yesterday, there's been people pointing to this divisive nature of the political spectrum that we have been seeing over the last few months. That's what has motivated these extreme views and extreme acts to even occur. It's expected that Biden today is going to, again, drive home his message of unity and present that leadership that people have been wanting to see from him, especially after the first presidential debate, where we have heard a growing number of even Democrats calling for him to step down. Do you think that he will be able to fulfill that promise to the American people and restore that confidence in his own leadership?
Well, whether he can restore confidence in his ability to lead the nation forward and be that candidate, I don't think this speech does that. He has to, over the next few weeks, but very, very soon, actually, demonstrate that he's going to go forward.
Stand by. He is live right now, Brian. I'm going to take it in full. Let's watch.
Well, we may disagree. We are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victims who was killed. Corey was a husband, a father, a volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from those bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. Earlier today, I spoke about an ongoing investigation. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet. We don't know his opinions or affiliations. We don't know whether he had help or support, or if he communicated with anyone else. Law enforcement professionals, as I speak, are investigating those questions. Tonight, this family, I want all those injured in our prayers. We do know. Earlier today, the president was shot. I spoke about an ongoing investigation. Killed. We do not know the motive of the shooter yet, the candidate of his choosing. We cannot, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer. Whether it's with members of Congress of both parties being targeted and shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against the sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. There's no place in America for this kind of violence.
Look how he's downplaying
for any violence
this whole
ever.
thing.
Period. No exceptions. We can't allow this violence to be normalized. You know, the political record in this country has gotten very heated. It's time to cool it down. We all have a responsibility to do that. Yes, we have deeply felt strong disagreements. The stakes in this election are enormously high. I've said it many times that the choice in this election we make in this election is going to shape the future of America and the world for decades to come. I believe that with all my soul. I know that millions of my fellow Americans believe it as well. And some have a different view as to the direction our country should take. Disagreement is inevitable in American democracy. It's part of human nature. But politics must never be a literal battlefield, and God forbid, a killing field. I believe politics ought to be an arena for peaceful debate, to pursue justice, to make decisions guided by the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. We stand for an America, not of extremism and fury, but of decency and grace. All of us now face the time of testing as the election approaches. And the higher the stakes, the more fervent the passions become. This places an added burden on each of us to ensure that no matter how strong our convictions, we must never descend into violence. The Republican convention will start tomorrow. I have no doubt they'll criticize my record and offer their own vision for this country. I'll be traveling this week making the case for our record and the vision, my vision of the country, our vision. I'll continue to speak out strongly for our democracy, stand up for our Constitution and the rule of law, to call for action at the ballot box, no violence on our streets. That's how democracy should work. We debate and disagree. We compare and contrast the character of the candidates, the records, the issues, the agenda, the vision for America. But in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box.
Battle box.
You know, that's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of would-be assassin. You know, the path forward through competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. You know, we're blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being. So tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America, think about it. What's made America so special? Here in America, everyone must be treated with dignity and respect, and hate must have no safe harbor. Here in America, we need to get out of our silos, where we only listen to those with whom we agree, where misinformation is rampant, where foreign actors fan the flames of our division.
This is
to
unbelievable.
shape the outcomes consistent with their interests, not ours. Let's remember, here in America, while unity is the most elusive of all goals right now, nothing is more important for us now than standing together. We can do this. You know, from the beginning, our founders understood the power of passion. So they created democracy that gave reason and balance a chance to prevail over brute force. That's the American we must be. An American democracy where arguments are made in good faith. An American democracy where the rule of law is respected. An American democracy where decency, dignity, fair play aren't just quaint notions, but living, breathing realities. We owe that to those who come before us, to those who gave their lives for this country. We owe that to ourselves. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren. Look, let's never lose sight of who we are. Let's remember we are the United States of America. There is nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together.
He repeats
God
this
bless you
bullshit
all.
over and over again.
May God protect our troops.
What a scumbag. What a scumbag.
All right, that address from the Oval Office from President Joe Biden just wrapping up there. I'd like to bring back into the conversation now, joining us here, a political analyst, Brian Sobel. Brian, so he spoke for less than 10 minutes right now. This is the shortest Oval Office address that we have heard throughout Biden's entire presidency. The events were from yesterday. Former President Donald Trump shot at a rally. Right now, the rhetoric from people saying that politics has been divisive. What do you make of this address that Biden just gave to the country?
Well, if the
chief heroically shielded his wife, daughters from bullets, praised them as the very best. He was a symbol of bravery. So everything we know right there about Corey Comparatore from this Trump rally yesterday.
Okay, so let me fix this real quick. I wanted to talk about this really fast. This is maddening. Absolutely maddening. In other words, after listening to that speech, Biden simply doesn't give a damn what happened. You heard absolutely nothing at all from him saying how horrible it was and how happy he is that Donald Trump is okay. It was a ridiculously short speech. And he essentially, and this is what's been going on in the press, they are blaming Trump for his own assassination attempt. And he immediately goes into he starts blaming the other side and talking about all of the other violence on the supposed or alleged violence on the other side, instead of discussing what happened to Donald Trump. I mean, this was an assassination attempt, one of the biggest things that's ever taken place in U.S., if not global history. And this just makes me even realize more that, or come to the realization that this was a planned event, or an event that was allowed to happen. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes. This wasn't just some lone gunman situation at all. I think Elon Musk, somebody was saying earlier, Elon Musk said that it was he believes it's a professional hit. I'm coming around to that and believing that I think that's probably what ended up happening. And apparently Secret Service protection as well was taken away. I'm not sure who exactly, but the Secret Service protection was taken away due to allegedly the court cases that Trump was that was involved in. So this is pretty sick. Bear with me. I just kind of went live at the last minute because of the press conference. So I'm just trying to get things straightened out here. Sorry, everything's a mess here. Battle box. Unbelievable. Cannot fix this thing. All right, it's a little better. And of course, as Biden starts talking about all of the other violent things that have happened, completely discounting Trump's attempted assassination, he doesn't discuss. Everybody's got to lower the temperature. It's everybody else has to bring the temperature down. Meanwhile, Washington Post has compared Trump to Hitler, and they've actually they put a photo of Donald Trump and Hitler together to show him as Hitler. And what does that do to people who are crazy? That incites violence. The New Republic American, or the New Republic magazine, had Trump comparing him to a fascist. The German magazine Der Spiegel had him dressed in a KKK hood. New York Times magazine had him looking like a Nazi. The New Yorker had a picture of him, a cartoonish picture of him giving the Roman salute. The Economist had a picture of his head as a hand grenade. And the Daily News showed him as Dr. Evil from the movie series. And of course you have Joy Reid, Joy Behar from The View, and Sunny Hostin, who thinks that solar eclipses are caused by global warming. The scumbag Nicole Wallace, Jake Tapper, Joe Scarborough, Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, Mr. Tough Guy. What do? They all incite violence. They've all been inciting violence. Telling you how Hitler, or how, he even got me saying it, how you have Donald Trump as Hitler. He's going to be a dictator, wannabe dictator. He's never going to leave office. Even though he left office after his first term. And then you had, the Liz Cheneys and the Adam Kinzingers and the January 6th lies. And Joe Biden, obviously, in his press conference, as short as it was completely indifferent of what happened. He did not care. He made that obvious. And I think in his deteriorating state, he's made it very obvious that, or more obvious and more convincing, at least to me, that because of his indifference, he's unable to sort of hide the guilt. It's sort of hard for him to hide the expression of, I really don't give a shit what happened to him, because he doesn't. Because in all likelihood, he and his administration could potentially be involved in it. I mean, I'm listening to, or was watching, Viva Frey and Robert Barnes, and Robert Barnes he's more than convinced, and I think he's one of the most intelligent lawyers that's out there. And he believes that, he's got to be part of it. I mean, when it comes to the Secret Service protection, it's his administration that's in control of that. Let's see if anyone else has come on here. So I'm just going to keep this short. I did want to go over the see what this press conference was going to be all about. But then, Hollywood incited violence against Trump as well. I mean, of course, let's not forget Nancy Pelosi and, again, the other people involved in government that called for violence against Trump. But then Rob Reiner, Stephen King in Hollywood, Mark Hamill, George Clooney, Robert De Niro. And there's countless amounts of people that you see on social media there that are not happy with the fact that the bullet didn't hit Trump and kill him. This is what we're dealing with. And this is the point that I'm trying to make as I do these streams, is that I don't think people understand that we're dealing with a communist takeover in our country. Communism has existed ever since World War II, probably before that, but ever since World War II, we've had these issues in Hollywood with communism. Joseph McCarthy, even though everybody talked about Joseph McCarthy and how they thought that he was crazy, the guy was onto something. There were communists in Hollywood. It was okay for them to have tons of money. It's okay for George Clooney to be a billionaire, but you're not allowed to be rich. You're not allowed to have it. You're a pleb. You're a nobody. Just watch my movies and buy my tequila. And yeah, I forgot Kathy Griffin, who held the president's head in effigy, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we are dealing with a communist revolution. We're dealing with a neo-Bolshevism, a communist takeover that's happening in our country right now. It's a revolutionary Marxist ideology, and it originally emerged in Russia in the early 20th century, and we're seeing it again now. And so I'm not going to go into detail of it. I think as I start doing more of these videos and going live in the evening, I am going to talk about Bolshevism and the communism in more detail, because a lot of things are leading up. A lot of the strategies and a lot of the things that we're all seeing, the border out of control, the destruction of the nuclear family, the trying to take people's kids and turn them into, cut their genitals off and not have two genders, taking away the reality of two genders. All of this stuff is a part of a communist strategy to destroy a country and take it over. And I'll go into that in more detail. But this, I'll tell you, and then also, one of the things that was brought up that I didn't think of, but this is really unbelievable. This assassination attempt took place right before the Republican National Convention. And the reason that is so important is because before a nomination for a vice president took place, somebody tried to take him out so it would be easier to put someone in his place. I mean, all of these things are kind of lining up to say what Elon Musk said was right, that this was a professional hit job. And we'll find out as we find out more about this shooter guy. It sounds to me like it's just this typical run-of-the-mill playbook thing where, he had mental problems. He was probably all over the FBI's radar. He was probably known by everyone. And somehow they missed it. And then they're going to find some manifesto. They're going to find all kinds of information about him. And kind of the arrows are going to be pointed, more towards he was sort of kind of pushed or cajoled into doing this. But the timing is very, very important when it took place right before the National Convention. And the thing that I hang my hat on all of this, to me, is the most obvious thing, that where the shooter was at on that roof, that I don't care what anybody says. And I talked to an Army friend of mine today, that is your basic run-of-the-mill 101 when you first go to academy type thing, that in that perimeter, you didn't have that area covered. Like, you weren't paying attention to that roof. I mean, as this stuff goes on, more conversations are had and they become more complicated unnecessarily. And if you just roll it back and look at all the simple things, you come to a realization that this isn't really all that complicated. You don't miss a roof spot like that and allow someone to get up there and take a shot. That you just don't let that happen. That is beyond incompetence. There's something more to that. And then the timing of it. So anyway, that'll do it for tonight. Thank you for... Looks like BitChute is becoming a good place to stream. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. If you are on YouTube, I am being shadow banned, obviously, on YouTube. So you can head on over to Rumble, Odyssey, or BitChute, or if you're on Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it. That is a really good place. If you are not on X, I suggest that you go on there and you can find me there. x.com/Den Hendrickson, DEN Hendrickson. As I will stream there as well. But there's a lot of other good information and just breaking stuff that comes out really, really quick. So that'll do it for tonight. Everybody have a good week. Have a good rest of your weekend on Sunday, and I'll see you next week.